Just a single step makes the earth tremble. They didn't believe in earthquakes, but when young Hyun walks, it feels like the world is ending. Everyone was totally stunned. He's still young, but weighs several tons, so he dreamed of becoming the supreme martial arts leader. But even a tiny mosquito landing on his neck was enough to make him trip, stagger and fall. The crash of his massive body can be heard all the way across the country. Holy crap! Is he causing earthquakes in Japan too? Your body is fat and useless. But he knew that at some point, a traitor would come to destroy all of Murim. That ungrateful servant appearing is truly incredible. And he actually unified all of Murim. His parents died as well, in the middle of his chaos. That's why someone as plain and weak as him was accepted as a disciple by 6 masters of the main sect. Training like pure hell is actually worse than death. They tried stabbing him alive. They tried freezing him alive. They even used fire. This toughened up his body. It was all part of his master's plan. A plan for him to become powerful. And then he was sent back in time to change the entire world's fate. But he never imagined he'd end up in Hyun's big, useless body. This body can't even practice basic martial arts. Back in the present, he was being treated by Jang Soon, while he was thinking about how to defeat the ungrateful traitor who causes all this absolute and total chaos. He realized he had to track down the Virgin Ginseng first, before that ungrateful servant code. The doctor, and the person in charge of Hyun's care, kept arguing back and forth about his health, and he couldn't even think straight. Then he remembered the servant's plan. He'd find the Virgin Ginseng in 6 months. He had to make a move right now. He stood up and told his father he needed a walk. His dad called for a huge chair, the biggest one they had. The guys hauling that chair had to be the strongest ones, but he refused, because he wanted to walk alone. His father still ordered the guards to assist him. It was a sight that actually made the old man's eyes water. He hadn't walked on his own since he was 10 years old. He spent the next month training hard, walking laps around the courtyards every day. But his heavy body still showed zero signs of change. He even hopped on a scale to check. But even weighing himself against a herd of pigs didn't work. The rope on the pig's side actually just snapped. Meanwhile, Hugh tried to recall the name of that servant who'd bring chaos. His vassal tried to comfort him, explaining that dropping weight isn't something that happens for anyone overnight. He needed to focus on his diet and cut out sugar, plus eating more protein and doing exercises to build up muscle. The young master's condition was going to take a long time to stabilize, but Hyun didn't care. He just needed the name of that ungrateful servant. It seemed like Hyun lost his memories of the servant after he reincarnated. Anyway, the guy would show up in Anhui province searching for the ginseng. Maybe he could catch him while he had the chance. Just thinking about the moment he would press him right there with his invincible strength. He was laughing, totally satisfied, imagining how quiet life would be once he dealt with him. His vassal thought he'd gone crazy, maybe a side effect of losing weight too fast. He was shocked by the sudden change, and immediately ran off to call the doctor. He brought old man Jang back at a full sprint. Jang Soo-yeon, who took the exam to be the emperor's personal doctor at 30. He passed a series of intense, high-level tests to officially become a doctor back then. At 50, he finally reached total enlightenment, and he developed his own medical technique. This was his savior. The secret to getting a fit, ripped, athletic body. He asked if he could prep weight loss cures fast. The happy man says that is definitely possible. So Hyun asks, can it be done in 6 months? But it would take 3 years and a lot of hard exercise. Hyun slapped a mosquito on the doctor's neck, while calling him a total fraud. But then the doctor found a way to slim down fast. If he cannot walk on land, try walking underwater. Eventually he arrived, right at a nearby stream. The men were exhausted after lugging him that far. Hyun slowly, he leaned down to enter the water. He figured walking underwater would help him relax. All that pressure on his muscles and bones would vanish. Suddenly, he just slipped right in. He fell into deep water, looking like he would float with that belly. But then he realized, sinking fast like a submarine, and his assistant still had not reacted, thinking that he was happily swimming around. Little did his assistant know the truth. He was basically a submarine without oxygen. The assistant thought he had the potential to be a pro swimmer, until another warned that the river floor might drop off quite suddenly, and he might be sinking just like a sub. The assistant stared at the water, totally confused. Now realizing his master was drowning, he panicked and rushed to save him, but a regular person could never drag Hyun's giant body back ashore. Meanwhile, young Hyun started to lose all his strength. Memories of his past life at 2 years old came flooding back to him. He went through some really dark times. His mother passed away, protecting him at that very moment, and a girl pulled him back to the shore, saving his life. "Thank you so much, thank you." So they finally made it back home. Right then, the vassal was facing the wrath of Han's father, but once they realized that everything was actually the doctor's fault, the man, after nearly meeting his end at the hands of Han's father, explains the boy was heartbroken from rejection and chose to lose weight. Then he brought up that super effective underwater weight loss method, but Yuan's sister, the one who sent her maid to the waterfall, says it really wasn't necessary to go that deep just to lose some weight. Back in Juan's room, he slowly woke up again, seeing his gorgeous older sister. He honestly couldn't believe it. That beautiful girl was his sister. He was clearly big and slow, but he had such a stunning sister, a total knockout. His sister's maid asked if he needed a hand up. Hyun thought there was no way she could do it alone, but she lifted him easily and acted like it was nothing. The next day he was headed to the area for his fitness training. The servants were weirdly cheerful. It was odd seeing them happy to carry someone that heavy. He's a total mammoth. When they arrived, everyone was building him a massive personal pool. This was clearly his sister's plan so he wouldn't face any more danger. In the stream, he found the whole thing weird, but once he saw the finished product, he was stoked. People smiled as he walked over, even offering him their congratulations. They'd worked so hard on something that honestly seemed kind of pointless. How was any of this fun? Then he asked the vassal about his adoptive father, the family head. In the vassal's eyes, that buff old man looked noble, so he called him the patriarch. Was a respected senior disciple and a true symbol of honesty and virtue. But to Hugh, his father was just a lame old loser. The vassal added that whenever famine hit, he opened his stores to share food and clothes with everyone. That's exactly why the whole town respected him. He quickly realized he'd been a total burden since he was a kid. Doing nothing as the patriarch's son meant he'd always have food and an easy life. He burst out laughing, leaving everyone confused. The next day, with the pool finished, he jumped in and sent huge waves everywhere. Then, he told his guard to bring a giant stone ball to tie to his leg for training. The guard followed his orders. Once it was tied to his leg, the man hurled that stone ball with all his might, launching himself into the air. This pool was meant to be shallow, but he dropped like the Titanic straight to the bottom. There, he began practicing internal energy, a way that was better suited for water training. His masters had created a method called the spiritual energy heart cultivation technique. Instead of storing energy in the core, it used the heart. Instead of energy veins, it moved through blood vessels. At last, he made it work. Energy spread through the water, and he could sense the current and use it to his advantage. Then he unleashed his strongest move from Shaolin's ultimate art, the mystic fist of 100 feet, and struck the water hard enough to send it into total chaos. After that, he kept training underwater like a madman, using knowledge from his past life to improve fast. In just 1 month, he mastered the technique. Now, it was time to head back. First, he needed to check his weight loss, so he told his servant to bring the scale. If even losing weight just didn't work, how could he ever face his master again? After a long wait, his massive weight had dropped down slightly. At least the rook didn't snap this time. He laughed with pure joy. His servant admitted he had doubted him before. Now Hyun had to get stronger fast to stop the coming chaos. To stay fueled, he ate everything in sight and trained before the food was even fully digested. He did this over and over. Then, 2 months passed. Now, at the bottom of the pool, he used a palm technique that made the surface churn. His servant couldn't believe it. He blurted out, "How could that arrogant pig do something like that?" Just then, someone asked who he was calling a pig. It was the patriarch, and he was furious. He wanted to kill his servant right then and there, but his personal guard told the soldiers to take the man away immediately. Not to punish him, but just to let him rest after all the work he done for the young master. The servant cried tears of joy. Kim's father was thrilled that his son had used a palm art to send water flying. His son had real martial talent. Even though he'd preferred him to study instead, he would still support his martial training. Then, his expression turned serious. He called for paper and ink to send a message to the palace. The next day, his father handed him the divine manual of heaven. His face turned serious. This was the manual the emperor himself had personally given. That alone showed just how much influence his father had. His father said he'd told the emperor that he started learning martial arts. So the emperor personally picked the palace's best manual for him. Little did he know, his father was the one pushing for it. The old man kept sending letters to the emperor, asking if he was forgotten, just to force a yes. Honestly, it sounded like a jealous lover, throwing a massive tantrum. On top of that, his brother-in-law became his new martial arts teacher. He was Kunwu, the husband of Hyun's older sister. The guy bragged that his school was the most famous in the entire province. Compared to Hyun's real skill, the man was probably nothing. But Hyun couldn't reveal that yet, so he really had no choice but to kneel and accept his brother-in-law as master. Their father was so moved that he almost cried, wondering when his son became such a respectful guy. In reality, Hyun just couldn't stand back up without help. Over the next few days, he trained under him, and it felt like absolute torture. Kunwu kept mocking him, even calling him a fat killer whale. That made Hyun furious. So Hyun actually challenged his own master, saying he'd prove he already knew the basics. Kunwu thought it was a joke, and burst out laughing. It was loud and annoying, but when Hyun mocked him and asked if he was scared, he immediately accepted the fight. He even sealed his own internal energy to keep things fair. He still thought that wasn't enough, so he even tied up his own arms before they started. Hyun used his combat techniques. They were quick and powerful, even if his heavy body still slowed him down. Even his brother-in-law was stunned. How was Hyun blending fighting styles so naturally? Hyun knew his strength had limits, so he had to end it fast. He knocked his brother-in-law down. The man begged for mercy, but Hyun finished him by knocking him cold. Later, the man was hurt bad. He couldn't even scratch himself and had to ask his wife, Hyun's sister, for help. She didn't mind at all because Hyun was doing great. She always believed he was a martial arts genius. His sister could barely hide her joy. Another day, Hyun walked through town. He had never seen the people this happy. Merchants traded, kids played, and it made him remember the past when corpses covered the streets. Back then, everyone lived with constant fear and hunger. The chaos had destroyed everything and stolen their peace. Now, when people saw Hyun, they rushed over in admiration. They couldn't believe the young master was actually walking on his own 2 feet. Pretty soon, they started handing him gifts, even food. He'd only gone out for a stroll, but the townspeople kept feeding him until he felt heavier. They were so kind he couldn't bring himself to refuse. It only made him more determined to save the martial world. People this good didn't deserve to die. Then he spotted a martial artist watching from the shadows. Shocked, the kid noticed him at all. But Hyun suddenly appeared behind him and tried to speak. Then the man attacked, striking with his full force. He sent Hyun flying. The guy was clearly no ordinary fighter. The impact knocked Hyun out, and the attacker used that chance to run. When Hyun woke up, he was furious and wanted to kill the guy who hit him. People nearby asked if he was okay, and he acted like it was nothing, though it clearly hurt. That only pushed him harder to become stronger. Meanwhile, his father and sister were having a talk. His father wanted an arranged marriage so Hyun could become a famous general, but his sister thought it was too soon. They guessed Hyun's sudden change came from his broken engagement with Nam Boom's daughter, a girl who never wanted marriage and only sought her own path. Hyun's father still wanted to ask for her hand again, and the Namgung family was nearby. They were trying to think of a polite way to reject him. Meanwhile, Hyun went to the Beggar's district to ask about the Virgin Ginseng, but he searched for a long time and found nothing. Someone told him it had been over 20 years since beggars vanished from the area because the patriarch built them homes. Hyun also wanted information about this state treasure, but now he had no idea where they went. At the same time, the Namgung Lord was at the provincial office, checking Hyun's records because of the marriage proposal. A beggar explained that Hyun was a special case. As an adopted son, no business could happen without permission from the central beggar office. They marked Hyun as celestial rank because he was actually the patriarch's son, and the other side was both rich and powerful. Oh, Namgung immediately tossed down some coins, saying he'd pay anything. But it still wasn't enough. They couldn't break the beggar network's rules, so he pulled out the emperor's seal. Anyone holding that ring has the full protection of the Namgung family. It was worth way more than money could measure. Right then, Hyun reached the bedside. This was the beggar's headquarters, but it looked way too fancy. A guard even called him fat, telling him to leave because a VIP was inside. Hyun ignored him. He tried to walk in, claiming to be the patriarch's son. The guard just answered with a punch to the face. After that insult, Hyun got truly mad and prepared to pay him back. Only this time, with a punch of his own. After Namgung finally handed over the ring, the beggar finally gave in, and they handed over Hyun's info. He was about to read it when a fight started. Hyun was brawling with the guard. The guard had to admit he had really underestimated the big guy. How could someone that heavy move so fast? Hyun said he was using the infinite sky sword, but against the guard's low-level skill, it didn't matter. Hyun told him all he wanted was an apology. Instead of letting it go, the man got angrier. He felt insulted after Hyun mocked the clan. The second the guard drew his sword to threaten him, Hyun dropped him in one move. All that followed was the man's scream. Then Hyun yanked him back up and said he would teach him some manners. He started slapping the guy, slapping the guard until someone from above yelled for him to stop. That person quickly landed right between them. Hyun stepped back, but the newcomer wasn't planning on letting him leave. Hyun instantly sensed he used a brutal martial art, so he knew he had to stop him first. With his heavy body, a direct clash was way too risky. That style used rotation to boost its explosive power, and Hyun wanted to use reverse rotation to cancel the force out. Then he realized the man standing right before him was his old master, and he lost focus. This was the sword master from his past life, so Hyun knew those moves well. Even so, he still ended up getting beaten down. The man realized this kid was anything but ordinary, especially after Hyun dispersed the power of his explosive lightning mystic fist. He struggled to his feet, eyes blazing with murderous rage. The man noticed and closed in. He stepped forward, but Hyun's subordinates rushed to protect him. A moment later, Hyun blacked out again. That's when the beggar division chief finally stepped out. He left the building and realized something. The chubby kid standing right in front of him was the patriarch's adopted son. He rushed right over and started shouting, "Who would dare hurt the chief's son like this?" Suddenly, everyone glared at young Namgung with pure hatred. He suddenly looked totally helpless. He stood there, looking completely lost. He glanced over at his father. Right then, he finally understood everything. He ripped up the file. It was useless now. He knew his father would be furious. If he weren't Hyun's future in-law, he'd be toast. The beggar division chief dropped to his knees, begging forgiveness. Man, this whole situation just kept getting worse. Then the beggar told Namgung to kneel and apologize too. Even the emperor respected the man standing before him. Hearing that name, Namgung panicked and knelt down to beg. But Hyun's father was still livid. Whoever hurt his favorite son would pay with their life. Then Hyun finally walked out, through the door, looking a bit strange. Apparently his sister forced that hairstyle on him to make him look better. The chief was shocked to see Hyun walking around perfectly fine, especially after taking a direct hit from Namgung. Hyun went straight up to the head of the Namgung family. He looked him over and told Namgung's son the truth. He was his uncle, even though he was only 17. Man, I've been waiting for this moment for a long time, mostly because this guy had been his master in another life. He kept coming back again and again. It hurt, but Hyun didn't care. Soon, this man would be the Sword King, one of the 6 great saints. For now, Hyun finally got some revenge by pinching him. Just pinching his cheek and making the guy call him uncle. Still, he was actually really happy to see him again. He got so emotional, he even teared up, though mostly from the revenge. "Why are you bullying me, man?" After that, everyone finally sat down to talk. Namgung still hadn't figured out how to get out of the marriage. But then, he simply refused the offer himself. He just said he was too busy training. He had a world to save. Marriage just wasn't the priority. He even pointed out that the engagement was forced by an old promise neither side agreed to. For him, marriage could definitely wait. Hearing that, his father was absolutely stunned. Hyun talked about a martial world full of bandits and cutthroats doing nothing but evil. He was clearly taking shots at the Namgung and the beggars. They didn't have much to say. Not a single soul argued. So Hyun stood up. He declared the marriage issue dead since both sides finally agree. Then he called for the beggar chief. he still needed intel on that Virgin Ginseng. He needed to learn about Murim and the old masters of his bloodline. He wanted payback for everything they had done. He planned to make them suffer just as much. The same agony he felt in his past life, it would cost them. A cold look filled his eyes. It was finally time to find himself a disciple. Back at the pool, his vassal told him to go rest in his room. Hyun didn't care until his sister showed up with her mate and said the same. He needed rest. Then his guard spotted the woman with the stone-cold face. He saw her and instantly fell hard. To him, she looked like a literal dream on two legs. Knowing his plan to leave, since he was entering the Murim world, she asked if he'd forgotten the past. Their mother died because of unfinished business in that dangerous world. Hyun simply asked if she really thought he was still weak. That stunned her. He promised nothing like that would ever happen to their clan again, simply because he would never allow it. His sister smiled, happy that he wasn't just a little kid anymore. She gently rubbed our chubby young master on the head, saying he'd really grown, mostly just grown sideways instead. Why was his sweet sister being so nice to him? To him, the whole thing felt strange. Maybe this was just what family was supposed to feel like. Then time flew. Suddenly, the pool water churned. Someone came bursting out of the water like a rocket. That person declared the time had finally come. The vassal rushed over, worried. Was Hyun finally transforming? Our hero turned into a saggy, skinny guy. Seriously, just look at him. Oh man, this is bad. Winter arrived and he returned to his father's side. At the palace, his father told him to stay inside so the wind wouldn't blow him away. Hyun was leaving anyway. He had to go train Namgo's son, so he stood up and said he was visiting his uncle. He started packing for Anhui. He was just glad for the freedom and hoped to sneak out quietly. Little did he know, a massive carriage and over 20 guards were already waiting for him. Outside, everyone looked ready to roll, but to him, they were nothing but dead weight. So he cooked up a quick plan. He called them in for drinks, announcing they would head out tomorrow instead. His sister had planned on saying her goodbyes, but hearing her brother shouting with a bunch of drunks made her decide to wait outside. Meanwhile, Hugh had already drubbed all the guards, not with booze, but something that totally wrecked their internal energy. They wouldn't be moving until morning. It was an emergency paralysis poison from his doctor. He was just about to bail when his sister appeared. She hugged him tight, telling him to stay safe and come home whenever he wanted. She and their father would always be right there waiting. Then he swiped the emperor's absolute best horse from the stables and hit the road. By the next day, he had reached a small village, but the locals still treated him like he was some shady criminal, or a chicken thief at best. He posed as a Yu-clan officer, claiming to be searching for something for his master's son. He asked if anyone had seen a red glowing stone on the mountain. The villagers were just confused. Finally, an old man mentioned seeing a red beam reflecting in the sunset while walking up the mountain. Hugh immediately asked exactly where he saw it. The place was known as Pagoda Mountain, but the old man warned him to stay away. It belonged to the infamous Nine Dragons clan. They weren't just bandits, they were total savages. That only convinced Hugh he was in the right place, so he asked the old man to be his guide. The man was terrified at first, but after Hugh gave him those watery, pleading eyes, he finally gave in. The two headed out. Into the forest they went. Once they got close, Hugh refused to risk the old man's life. He asked for directions, and as the man pointed the way, Hugh promised him a reward. At sunset, a red light appeared. It was the Virgin Ginseng. He moved at full speed. He crossed the stream, thinking that if he got caught, fighting underwater would give him the upper hand. Finally, he reached the Nine Dragons' stronghold. He wanted to avoid a fight, so he used his spiritual energy to search for the ginseng. Instead, he found a bandit beating a woman, and when her little child started crying, the bandit turned toward the little girl. For a second, Hugh hesitated, but then, he stepped in, and the bandit dropped dead, right on the ground. Hugh hadn't meant to interfere, but once he saw that mother and child, he decided to see it through. More guards rushed out from a nearby hut, but our hero quietly put them all to sleep. After dragging them all into a cabin, he found several other villagers locked away inside. Leaving them behind just wasn't an option for him. The problem was they were terrified and impossible to control, so he put the mom in charge and made a plan. But when a guard checked the cabin for his missing men, he saw them all asleep and realized the prisoners had done something. He opened his mouth to shout out, but the saggy man chopped him in the neck and sent him to sleep with the others. Now the plan could begin. First target, the main guard post. The saggy man crossed the area in the blink of an eye and got beneath the tower. A torch was in one hand. His other hand held a strike packed with power, pouring spiritual energy into it. He slammed the post with everything he had, toppling the whole guard tower along with the man on watch. No one saw that coming. Then they remembered it was the signal. Everyone had to evacuate. Do it and run. A figure shot past at crazy speed the loose-skinned man with a torch. He rushed to ignite one of the cabins. Tonight, he meant to turn the place into total chaos. In another cabin nearby, several bandits were asleep. They suddenly woke to a harsh glow. Multiple cabins were already burning. A figure appeared in their doorway, boldly announcing that he was the one setting the fires. The loose-skinned man burned that cabin too, then kept running and lighting more buildings while avoiding long fights. Before long, a group of bandits spotted him. His best move was to run, but another man cut him off. He managed to slip past the attack and knock the guy out right away. The loose-skinned man couldn't be stopped. Like lightning cutting through the village. That night, two guards were posted at the gate, and a small tossed stone drew their attention. One bent down to grab it, then saw a bright flash. Behind him, the idiot finally realized the place he was guarding was on fire. Both guards ran off in panic. They rushed to help, giving everyone hiding near the gate a chance to escape. The mom prayed the warrior would survive, then ran with all her strength toward freedom. Our loose-skinned lord kept sprinting through the camp, drawing all attention onto himself, but his energy soon began to fade. Only then did he notice someone beside him, already ready to strike. The attacker was too fast. He had no time to avoid it as the blow smashed into the loose-skinned man and sent him flying back. Standing several meters away, the rock demanded to know the intruder's identity, but the loose-skinned lord stayed silent. Enemies gathered around, mocking his bandages and asking if he was hiding an ugly face. Guards poured in from every direction. That latest hit of mine had done serious damage. The rock told his men to put out the fire, while he tried to recruit the loose-skinned lord instead. Hyun sat down, buying time to restore his spiritual energy. He stayed seated, catching his breath. Finding strong, fast fighters willing to become bandits was never easy. The leader wondered about this strange behavior. Was he really meditating in the middle of a battle? Soon enough, Hyun recovered. His spiritual energy turned terrifying as he asked, "Why would a wolf ever serve some little puppy?" The leader instantly ordered his men to attack him. They rushed in, ready to crush him alive. After a single blow, his mask came off, and the men saw his face hidden under that skin. The fight continued, and Hyun was incredibly fast. Even though the bandits weren't that strong, they worked together well. By combining their attacks, they finally managed to reach the loose-skinned lord and knock him to the ground. Even a lion falls when hyenas swarm it. Realizing he had no choice left, Hyun changed his style. His body grew lighter and more erratic. He used the immortal step of the 8 drunks. He slipped through the guards with ease. Even the leader was shocked. Then Hyun shifted. He shifted again, using the shadowless flight technique. He shot toward the leader like lightning. They traded blows. In a split second, Hyun knew the leader wouldn't die. His power was spent. His only escape was jumping from the cliff. As he fell, he admitted he still wasn't strong enough. Still, Hyun swore he would return and cut off all their heads, then vanished over the edge while raising his hand. That left the rock glaring in fury beneath his eye patch. He ordered his men to recover the loose-skinned lord's body from below, but one of his men rushed over with some bad news. The hostages are gone. That makes the bald leader even angrier. He wants the loose-skinned lord dead even more. Meanwhile, as Hyun falls off the cliff, he dives headfirst. He has only one goal: to hit the water as softly as possible, spinning down like a drill. His main worrying is slamming into the riverbed after falling from such a crazy height. He slows down a bit, but then a weird force starts pulling him down. And once again, he sinks just like a stone. After the water drags him along for ages, he finally gets swept into a cave nearby. All he wants to do is collapse after that insane fight. But then, the energy in his chest starts reacting to something close by. It pulls him forward until he finally sees the legendary Virgin Ginseng. After swimming a bit deeper into the cavern, Hyun is absolutely floored by what he sees. Right there in front of him, the Virgin Ginseng is glowing with power. He is so happy he almost cries, then remembers the beggar saying it would be easy. If he sees that old guy again, he is seriously going to toast him. Not wasting another second, he rushes over. He reaches out and rips the ginseng up with his bare hands. This is actually it, the legendary Virgin Ginseng. And now, it finally belongs to him. He even looks around, half expecting this to be some kind of sick joke, but nope. Still soaked and exhausted, he just starts devouring the ginseng. Right away, his spiritual energy surges. It feels so good that he keeps eating and refuses to stop. Then he sits. He starts to cultivate, pumped that he can finally prove all those haters wrong. Back at the village, Hyun's vassal is desperately trying to find him, but since Hyun used a fake name, there is zero trace of him. This all started back at the mansion. While he was asleep, that angry fat man's father burst through the door, screaming his head off. Finding the vassal asleep, the man starts beating him, shouting that he will make him sleep forever. And that is exactly how the vassal ended up in this village. Looking for Hyun, he eventually stumbles across the fat man's horse. He desperately asks a local kid where the owner went. Once he hears Hyun headed toward Pagoda Mountain where those bandits live, he loses it. Just thinking about his master getting hurt by those thugs, he panics and runs. Somewhere else, in the freezing forest, the rain is pouring down. The survivors are all rushing toward the closest village they can find. Someone is hiding nearby. It is the guide who brought Hyun here, now showing everyone the way out. One of the women thanks him for his help. An old man asks if she saw a kid wrapped in bandages. He means her savior, and she knows he stayed behind to fight those mountain bandits by himself. Near the waterfall, the bandits are absolutely livid. Yeah, because they still cannot find that loose skin man. Then, one of them points toward the fallen water. A guy walks right out of the water, complaining he almost drowned. The bandits are confused how he just walked through the falls, but the guy says they saved him the trouble he was coming for them anyway. None of them had any clue who this man is now. Brushing his hair back, he asks if they were looking for him. They just stare back blankly. Ken looks so different now that they don't even recognize him. You can't even call him loose skin man anymore. Coldly, Hyun tells them to hand over their clothes, but they refuse. He slams a kick right into one man's head. The hit drops him in one shot, and he didn't even use mana. The others freeze, shaking. Terrified, Hyun complains that his new clothes are already dirty. Now he needs more. He says it while staring at the men who know they're next. Soon, they're just standing there in their underwear, shivering from the cold. Ken grips his new weapon. Then he decides to test it. The shivering bandits don't even see what's coming. In an instant, one head comes off clean. Ken laughs, asking if they're really just going to wait there to die. They start begging for mercy, but Hyun refuses. He already promised. He promised to take their heads. They run in terror, but it's too late. The hunt begins. That day, everyone at the mountain's base is wiped out. No one escapes Hyun. Afterward, he notices his clothes are dirty again, so he heads down to the riverbank to wash up. Then he sees his reflection. In the water, he's stunned. The loose skin man is gone. He looks unbelievably handsome. He quickly realizes was the Virgin Ginseng. That's the thing that changed him. He's both happy and embarrassed by his new look. Now he looks just as beautiful as his sister. But screams suddenly interrupt him. They're coming from the top of the mountain. Up there, the old guy is being tortured by bandits. The survivors have been captured again. The guide won't tell them anything about the loose skin man. They're about to whip him. Then, one bandit notices something. He asks why a guy is just standing in the snow, watching them. Hyun crouches down and makes a strange motion. The bandits wonder if he's really just scooping up snow by hand. Maybe he wants to play, but the snowball he throws hits like a bomb. Several bandits drop at once, taken out by nothing but snowballs. Anyone still trying to resist gets cut down at a blinding speed. The bandits can barely track him as he rushes up. Then he just rips through them on the way down. Anyone who survives that initial attack, he is immediately finished off by the Moon Destroyer strike. Only one man is left alive. Keen asks him if he is scared, but nobody here even recognizes who he is anymore. The old guide coughs in pain, remembering the man's kindness while leading him. Seething with rage, he asks if this man did it. The survivor quickly lies. Sean answers with one swing of his spear, and literally splits him right in half. The survivors beg Hyun to spare them, but he did not come for them. He came to save the man who helped him. The guide finally realizes who stands before him. Hyun tells them to return home. Seeing the guy cannot even speak, Hyun sends spiritual energy into his body. He burns the wound shut. It is rough treatment, but all he can do. He asks if there is anyone who can carry the guy. Then he orders them to head for the village and never look back. They obey him at once. Hyun then swears to bring heaven's punishment down on those mountain bandits. At the gate of the bandit village, the guards wonder, why is thunder rumbling on such a clear winter day? A second later, one is beheaded so fast he does not even realize it. The other guard dies in that same strike. Hyun draws in a deep, long breath. Then he roars for the bold leader to come out and fight. He plans on showing absolutely no mercy to these beasts. Anything standing in his way is getting cut down. He tears through those bandits like they are nothing, dropping several at once with ease. Hyun means to erase this whole clan. Anyone watching can only shake in total fear, because they know that they are next. Suddenly, an arrow nearly hits him. The bold leader's group has finally arrived. This is exactly what he wanted. Now he has to fight with even more skill than ever before. The timing is absolutely perfect. A familiar voice rings out nearby. The wild vassal has arrived with men to crush the bandit camp. Charging the bandits, the vassal fights well too. He can really handle himself. The bold leader calls out to his men, telling them to stand and fight. But he chooses to run away himself. Hyun has no intention of letting that worm escape. The bald guy can't believe this pursuer is still on his tail. He still doesn't realize this is Hyun's new face. Then he spots that middle finger in the air. And suddenly, it all clicks. His panic only gets worse. He's terrified. How could someone get this strong overnight? Now he truly understands Hyun's insane power. He falls to his knees, begging for mercy. He offers gold and food, but Hyun asks if the bandits showed mercy. Today, he's delivering justice in heaven's name. And he finishes exactly what he came for. Just then, the servant arrives and asks if he's okay. But he has no clue he's looking at his young master. Instead, he just asks where Hyun went. He starts trash-talking the whole family, calling the young master rude, ugly, and mean, saying he used to eat like a massive ox. Hyun briefly thinks of killing his own servant, but once the man realizes it's actually his young master, his tone flips. Suddenly Hyun is handsome, and they must run before the patriarch kills him. But Hyun still had business with the chaos servant, so his man grabbed the divine whip from his old days as an inspector. Hyun wasn't going along with that, so he tried to bolt. Instead, the butler caught him with the lash and dragged him back. On the way, Hyun swung at the servant, who blocked. Everyone was shocked that in months, the young master had grown so strong he could pressure a former inspector with one blow against the man's guard. It shoved him back several steps, but then Hyun got blindsided by an attack from behind. The servants had to follow the patriarch's orders. The battle was about to hit its peak. Things were getting serious when the old guide finally appeared. He thanked Hyun for the rescue and said the prisoners were safe. They were truly grateful. Hyun had saved so many people. While he was busy saying his goodbyes, the servant quietly tied him up. He hauled him away while Hyun screamed the whole time, and the servant knocked him out to carry him easier. He told everyone to keep quiet. Since Hyun used an alias, they should keep it that way. The nail that sticks out gets hammered, and too much attention will only bring trouble. Later, back in the cave, the ginseng was gone. The chaos servant was so livid about the theft that he almost murdered his own men right then. He ordered them to find the thief and kill their family. The treasure was gone, and he was raging. Finders keepers, losers weepers. When Hyun finally woke up, he realized he'd missed his chance to track the chaos servant in the cave. Still, once the second creature, the Millennium Snail, appears, he'll get another shot. Not long after, they arrived in the city of Hefei. It was massive and lively. The commerce here was nothing like back in his hometown. There were even special places built for visitors. Once Hyun stepped out of the carriage, he was at the Emperor's. At the first gate, the guard stopped him as he tried to enter. But then someone yelled for them to lower their weapons. It was his father, who had been waiting there for him. Seeing how worried the old man looked, Hyun tried to show some affection, only to be ignored because his father didn't recognize him. Instead, his father started beating the servant for daring to lie. He even tore the letter, since Hyun was supposed to be with him. Only after taking a beating did the man finally blurt out that the handsome guy was his beloved son. His father glanced at Hyun and then went right back to beating the servant. No way this handsome guy was his kid. So Hyun called out to him as father. The old man froze at the voice, asking if he really was his dear son. He still couldn't believe his eyes. News hit Namgang Castle fast. The captain reported that the public thought the old man's servant had solved the whole mess, but the truth was that Hyun alone had wiped out the entire clan. That left old man Gun stunned. Impressed and curious, he still asked if the captain might have seen wrong. The captain added that bringing Hyun back home took everyone working together just to hold the bow down. The family patriarch stepped in, saying his son was just being stubborn. Hyun was the future heir of a great clan, born with martial talent, and he'd slimmed down into a handsome young man. Basically, his son was ignoring the truth and trusting gossip instead. That's why he doubted it. The patriarch then declared he'd personally handle Hyun's marriage from now on. Soon after, the patriarchs met with Hyun at the center since he was the topic. With the discussion going, Hyun's father said the boy should take the martial arts exams, but Patriarch Namgang cut in, saying that path would only make him a general, no matter how gifted Hyun was. Hyun's father asked what he had in mind instead. The old man said with the right master, Hyun could rise above a general and become a leader who saves the nation and makes history. The idea of saving the country lit a fire in Hyun. His father asked if a master that great really existed. Namgang said they wouldn't need to search for one. He planned to teach the boy himself as the Namgang clan patriarch. The legendary king's sword, Namgang Junshin. Hyun quickly realized the old man wanted him because of his recent accomplishments. He knew this clan was materialistic, even if they were powerful and respected. Still, Hyun saw this as a huge chance to grow stronger and leave the Wu clan behind. That was, of course, if his father agreed. A moment later, his father was already crying after hearing Hyun wanted to be Namgang's disciple. But the Namgang elder had clearly already won the old man over, so things settled down fast after their talk. Hyun's father felt relieved to hear Namgang would look after his son, especially since he now had to visit the emperor. Confused, Namgang asked what the emperor wanted with him. Maybe he was thinking of choosing the next ruler and wanted his grandfather close by. Namgang immediately buttered him up, saying that only proved how trustworthy he was. And the old man soaked it up like a fool. Meanwhile, Hyun was already tired of all this old man talk. Later, they were back at the emperor's gate to say their goodbyes. His tearful father told him to listen to his uncle and train hard. Then came the overprotective advice: every meal and write home twice a week or so. At last, they start to leave, and Hyun felt relieved that the awkward scene was finally coming to an end. That relief didn't last very long, though. Right before he left, his dad gave him a massive, super embarrassing wave from the carriage. Hyun was totally mortified. Even so, he secretly loved being cared for like that. Then his uncle called his name, and Hyun turned instantly. The Namgang patriarch simply said to follow him. Hyun knew the real training was starting. They walked through town, greeting everyone along the path. Hyun quickly noticed just how popular the old man really was. Everywhere they went, people bowed and shouted their greetings, showing deep respect. But one thing impressed Hyun the most. It was the massive scale of the Namgang clan itself. City guards were posted on every street corner. But as soon as they saw their leader, they stepped aside. Namgang led him upward. Soon, they were climbing to the top of the castle wall. Hyun was blown away by the view. Then, the old man suddenly started to float. Hyun realized the Sword King used aerial step, something even his master couldn't pull off. After a moment, the old man landed atop a tall wooden structure. He turned around and told Hyun to come up as well. Hyun could have used the Beggar Sect movement art to get there, but he figured the Sword King wouldn't exactly appreciate that. He'd probably flip out and ask why Hyun was hanging with those Beggar Sect bastards. So he picked a different method. Hyun leapt up toward the patriarch and landed right in front of him. The old man praised his speed, making Hyun feel honored. Suddenly, the old man asked if he'd noticed the streets on the way up, and how many buildings he thought they'd walked past. Hyun shivered, realizing this might have been a test all along, but the patriarch answered for him 64 places. Hyun apologized for not paying more attention. Instead of getting mad, the old man said they all belonged to the Namgang clan. Not sure he heard right, Hyun asked him to say that again. The patriarch pointed to a pavilion near the mountain, asking if Hyun saw it. He nodded. He explained that everything from that spot to the horizon was Namgang land. He asked if all those lands and buildings didn't look massive. Still confused, Hyun just agreed that yeah, it was pretty huge. Then the old man turned and asked what he thought of it. Hyun was lost. The man kept asking questions and then answering them himself. He even thought this climb was just a way to test his movement skills. As Hyun got ready to move, the patriarch asked if seeing these possessions made sense. But Hyun was still just focused on dashing away. The moment he stepped forward, the patriarch sighed, saying he still didn't get it. Only then did Hyun recall the word possessions, slamming his head down in realization. Lifting his bruised face, he asked the patriarch to explain it more clearly. With a totally fake-looking smirk, the old man said most of this could actually be yours. That completely shocked him. Then the catch: he just had to marry the old man's granddaughter. She would come with a massive dowry too. After all that build-up, Hyun finally saw why he was there. And yeah, the old man confirmed that was exactly it. Now it made sense why the Sword King went through such trouble with his dad to bring him in. Smiling, the old man promised to handle the family so Hyun didn't have to worry. Thinking the whole thing was insane, Hyun just jumped off the roof. If the Sword King was talking marriage already, he was totally crazy. The old man chased him immediately, yelling for the rascal to wait up. Hyun acted like he didn't hear and just kept going. Behind him, the old man followed with a scary look, saying he could offer even more. That is when Hyun realized being reborn as a martial arts prodigy should have been great, but the Sword King had his eyes set on him, and that ruined everything. And the old man suddenly stopped. He shouted that if Hyun married his granddaughter, the clan wealth would be his. Hyun flatly refused. Offended, the old man demanded a reason. Hyun reminded him he is the Yu clan's only son. Most of Anping belongs to the Yu family and the emperor favors his father enough to send gifts. Why marry for money? He even let out a long, tired sigh. Then he told his poor uncle again that he is the clan's only heir. So this marriage talk really needs to end. Hyun had gotten excited thinking he would learn martial arts. And only then did the old man realize wealth means nothing to a kid raised with everything. Still, as the man who broke every limit to become the Sword King, he had to have something else to offer. A little later, right there, the old man started showing off with a flurry of sword moves. Hyun just wondered why he had been dragged out for this so early. That morning, Namgung finished and proudly showed off the emperor's sword style, asking if it wasn't amazing. Hyun only thought that old people probably just wake up too early. Then the old man threw his sword, calling it the explosive vibrant blade. The blade sliced into the tree over and over from different angles, and Hyun's first thought was whether those trees were expensive. The old man kept parading one technique after another for quite a while. Finally, breathing hard, he said these arts are taught only to direct Namgung descendants. He was just about to add that marrying his granddaughter would let Hyun learn them all, but Hyun was already walking away. Panicking, the old man threw himself at him, insisting he pay attention to these priceless techniques no money could buy. Hyun said he already knew that, but everything shown so far was nothing special. The old man burst out laughing, sure it had to be a joke. He said Hyun was talented, sure, but since he just started martial arts, he couldn't grasp how great these techniques really were. He started explaining that martial arts are built up and refined over many generations. Then Hyun cut him off and said he could do that easily. Stunned, the old man told him to stop talking nonsense. Hyun calmly asked if he should prove it instead. Grabbing a branch, he figured it was the only way to get the old man to back off. Rumors were going to spread anyway, so pretending to be a genius one more time couldn't hurt. He began swinging the branch while his uncle kept telling him to stop joking around. Then Hyun slid the branch into an invisible sheath after taking a brief pause to focus. He started his demonstration. The old man froze in confusion. Hyun was actually using the emperor's sword style, and he was doing it beautifully with nothing but a branch. The old man couldn't believe his eyes. He immediately shouted for Hyun to stop. Angry and shaken, he demanded to know how Hyun had learned the emperor's secret sword style. Without a hint of fear, Hyun answered that the old man taught him himself. Still baffled, he asked if Hyun was being serious. Hyun replied that he'd just seen it demonstrated moments ago. The old man understood, then calling him a genius didn't even begin to cover what this bow was. While he stood there thinking Hyun copied it, after seeing it once, Hyun called out. He asked if the old man always stood around staring and drooling like this. Then Hyun tossed the branch aside and said he definitely wasn't marrying his granddaughter. The old man only muttered, "Okay," while watching the branch drop, but inside, his eyes were burning. This bow was perfect and he'd make him marry her. Elsewhere in Namgang City, 3 men were moving through the streets. They walked quietly among the townspeople, until one of them ordered the others to split up here. He recalled what he'd learned after paying a citizen for some information. The man said a client arrived 2 days ago, immediately gathering people familiar with Huan Shan to ask about the Crimson Pebble. That man was Jin Weigong, and the informant was killed. Now, we return to our protagonist. Back in his quarters, someone was shouting for his uncle right in front of him. Hyun opened the door to meet the caller. It was his former master, now his nephew, asking why he wasn't training. Hyun casually answered that he didn't need to learn the clan's cultivation arts. That instantly made the boy angry, and he ordered him to come at once. In his past life, that glare would have terrified him, but now it looked almost cute. The boy was furious. He hated this situation, especially after learning Hyun could copy any technique after seeing it once. Still, he knew talent in external arts without inner training would make for a terrible fighter. Even now, he couldn't sense a single trace of internal energy from Hyun, so he grabbed Hyun by the shoulder and firmly told him to come along. Hyun just thought this fool was digging his own grave. Turning with a wicked look, he decided it was finally time to train his disciple. He shoved the bow's hand off his shoulder. He said he'd heard his nephew plan to teach him, but there was nothing to learn. If anything, Hyun should be the one teaching his useless nephew. The bow snapped. He was polite enough to call him uncle, but the guy still acted this arrogant. Shun just asked what kind of face he was making. Was he really gonna hit his uncle just to force him along? He dared him to try it, calling him nephew again. That only made the kid even madder. With a dark aura rising, Shun asked what was so wrong with calling his nephew that. Then, wearing a psycho grin, he mocked him by repeating the word nephew. Forget you. The bow shouted that he was totally insane and arrogant beyond belief. Honestly, arrogant was too weak. He was so angry, he should have been cursing way worse. The provocation worked. He looked ready to explode, but he still didn't swear. John pointed out how basic he sounded when all he could even say was arrogant. Then he mocked him for only knowing that one insult. In his past life, this man used a different curse every day. Sean remembered him swearing constantly. Back then, he was totally unmatched with the sword. People even called him the Sword King of 7 emotions. He'd pushed every human emotion to its limit through martial arts. He'd hit someone just because he woke up in a bad mood, or because he felt great after a good meal. Because of all those moods, Hyun had suffered through plenty of that in the past. So none of this made any sense. How was he so polite now? In the other timeline, he'd reached the peak of emotional madness. If that changed, one of Murim's heroes might never exist. Hugh couldn't allow that. At first he just meant to help with martial arts, but now he had to fix the kid's personality too. He called it a pain, though the wicked smile on his face said otherwise. His nephew, now calling his uncle a scoundrel, demanded to know what he was even talking about. When Hyun suddenly appeared in front of him, he said he'd understand after getting beaten up. The man was startled, wondering if that was heavenly wine skating. Taking his stance, he declared a cheap copy had no chance. Then he rushed in, saying he'd show him the gap between the real thing and a fake. His attacks were genuinely fierce. Even Hugh was impressed as he slipped past. Even so, attacks like that weren't ever going to touch him. The man struck again, and Hyun leapt in a really odd way. By instinct, the boy quickly brought up his guard, but a kick easily knocked him off balance. He blocked it, yet the force still sent him flying several meters. As the boy gasped for breath, Hyun asked if all he planned to do was block. Okay then. Hugh charged again at blinding speed. Expecting a punch, the boy tried to block, but the strike never actually landed there. For a split second, he thought about dodging with internal energy, but Hyun, smiling coldly, told him that wouldn't work. A punch wrapped in blue aura was already waiting. The boy realized too late. He tried to take the hit with internal energy, but he quickly found out he couldn't stop it. Seeing him stumble, Hyun seized the opening, driving his fist down and shattering his defense. The punch connected perfectly. He even pulled off a high-level Namgang clan technique. With a flash of explosive illumination, he smashed his nephew right across the face. He was actually laughing while doing it. The poor kid went flying and slammed hard into the wall. Hyun stayed on him, attacking while he was still completely dazed. The boy was totally overwhelmed, coughing up blood on the floor. Stunned, He wondered how Hyun could use explosive illumination without any internal energy at all. Had he really mastered it from such a brief encounter? If so, he was truly a heaven-sent cultivation genius. There was nothing he could do against the monster standing over him. Hyun simply told his nephew he still had plenty to learn. All the poor guy could feel was terror. The sickening sound of impact echoed through the room. He was beating him senseless. He kept saying he had waited so long for this moment. Broken, he kept kicking and smashing his face with zero mercy. After all, this was exactly what he'd suffered from this man in his past life. He'd been looking forward to this day, and now that it was finally here, he was absolutely thrilled. Still cursing, the boy could only beg him to stop because the pain was unbearable. Suddenly something clicked, and he remembered words from his past. What he was feeling right now was pure anger. With tears streaming down his face, he screamed for Hyun to stop this nonsense. But then, another brutal hook smashed into his jaw. Realizing his nephew was still far too weak, Hyun started planning how to toughen him up. Maybe even hunt that second mystical creature. A little later, he pointed at the kid and told him they would be training together from now on. That was the official start of the kid's nightmare. A few days later, back at the Namgang family palace, their brutal training was still in full swing. They kept at it for 10 straight days, and through that absolutely hellish routine, the boy finally started responding. Channeling his raw emotions, he finally swung his sword back. Lord Hyun could feel the attack was already packed with solid internal energy. In just a few days, he had infused his anger into the blade. It made Hyun realize the boy grows fastest when he is pushed to the limit. For now, learning to merge that rage into his power was enough. Next, he would have to train him to control it. Thinking that, Hyun struck him and sent him flying again. He charged in immediately to land another punch, but his nephew's expression suddenly shifted. His eyes burned, filled with the exact rage that Hyun had been looking for. The nephew swung back with a massive hit, glowing with pure rage. As soon as he realized he missed, total panic set in. Taking a hit now would probably knock him out for 3 days. But suddenly he stopped and said they were done. They had to go. His nephew could only manage to ask where. He gave a terrifying look and asked if he was being questioned. Scared of another beating, the boy jumped up. He agreed to leave immediately, even though he had no clue where they were going. He was finally catching on. Over in a different part of the Namgang clan city, people were just going about their daily business. Then, someone decided to stop by. They walked up and dropped a coin into a beggar's bowl. Once the beggar thanked him, the man asked for a quick word. He was actually a spy reporting that their leader, Jin Weigong, was missing from the Namgang clan. The beggar stayed silent for a second. Then he looked up and asked if he was absolutely sure. The man in disguise nodded but mentioned someone strange had appeared around the same time. Right away, the leader asked who it was, and he heard the name Yuchen. Yuchen Wanzan was now apparently staying with the Namgang clan. The man asked if it was time to bring in the captain. After thinking it over, the beggar spotted Hyun and his student. They were just passing by at that exact moment. He decided they weren't going to call the captain yet. They would just investigate on their own. Immediately, one of his men started tailing Hyun and the kid. The messenger stood up, and the beggar thanked him for the coin one last time. But his actual orders were to proceed with the plan. However, someone else had been watching them, too. These 2 guys were after the beggar for making money on their turf without permission. Basically, they were ticked off and wanted to beat him down. Later on, the nephew complained that the books were full of tragic stories and miserable people. So, why did they have to haul so many of them around? Hyun said he needed the experience, and that nobody ever died from reading. Since the lead character grew up wealthy too, he couldn't really argue. Now Hyun made him read a Beijing opera and laugh out loud, leaving the boy puzzled. But after a little while, he actually got into it. Hyun explained that happiness calms the heart and keeps negative emotions from taking over. If his nephew's heart was steady, he could see clearly and understand his enemies better. The boy promised to remember, then asked again what to do with all those depressing books. Right then, the scene cuts back to the fake beggar group. By this point, they had already picked out their targets. Orders were simple: follow quietly and just watch. Their leader would personally track Yuchen. Everyone else had to be careful and stay hidden until they left Hafei. Suddenly, someone started shouting for the beggar. John and his nephew spun around to see what the commotion was. That same guy from before was accusing the beggar of dodging his taxes. that completely trashed their original plan. When the beggar asked who they were, the thugs mocked his courage. Their leader claimed he was from the Wan to Ha-Fe-Skua sect. The beggar acted terrifying and pleaded for mercy, but Wang ordered a beating. The undercover leader realized exposing himself would ruin everything with Yuki now standing right there, so he wondered if he should just endure the beating. Watching the scene, the nephew asked if they should help. Yuki now told him he was too sheltered, and that the world wasn't a fairy tale where they could save everyone. Street brawls between these vagabond and beggar sects were common enough. These guys were from the Jewish sect, sworn enemies of the beggars. Plus, since no martial arts were involved, there was even less reason to get involved. They turned to leave, while the thug signaled that the coast was clear to move in on their target. Suddenly, a purple aura exploded from the alleyway as someone yelled for order. The vagabond boss was totally blindsided before being thrown back away from the beggar. One of the guys screamed for the bow, but it was too late. They were already surrounded. After getting up, the villain ordered his gang to grab the beggar while everyone else stayed back. That heavy, crushing aura kept everyone frozen in place. The beggar walked toward his attacker and asked if he realized his massive mistake. This was a once-in-a-lifetime chance, and failure simply wasn't an option here. Now, that vagabond was going to pay. He grabbed the kid, snatching his head. He did exactly what you'd expect. After that, he mentioned a nearby river and told his crew to dump the bodies and erase every trace. They obeyed immediately. That night, several vagabonds vanished just for laying a finger on a beggar. Nearby, a scout was watching from the shadows. He was one of Wang's men and realized these were no ordinary street thugs. And that beggar, he wasn't with the sect either. Sobbing as he ran, he knew he had to report this to headquarters. Back over at the Nam Gong Pavilion, the patriarch was fuming, demanding to know where the girl was. He had summoned his granddaughter to get married, but she refused because she just didn't want to do it. Even worse, she'd already left for the front lines to fight the unorthodox sects. She even made sure her letter arrived only after she was long gone. That news just made the old man even angrier. In a fit of rage, he complained about the way kids are raised nowadays. Since she wasn't coming home, he decided to send Hyun after her instead. Happy with that plan, he went off to find the hero. Suddenly, he heard some loud, angry swearing. He immediately assumed that intruders had broken in. He leapt over the wall to investigate, but the sight waiting for him was a shock. Hyun was swinging his blades right at his nephew, all while the boy cursed and cried through the whole attack, and a golden aura surged from his blade. The old guy thought it looked like steady fire. Just as our hero spotted him, he ordered them to stop before the blow landed. The young man froze right at once. Sun snapped, yelling that he almost got hit in the head. Hearing Sun swear like that actually impressed the old man. While the main character asked what he was doing there, hopping off the roof, the elder said the training caught his interest, and Hugh said he could watch. That made the old guy wonder whose house this even was. He asked if Hyun was teaching Sun sword skills, but Hyun said they were just sparring. The young patriarch really wondered why he was lying. The elder noted the kid used a weird style, and Huang claimed he made it himself. That shocked the young man, who asked what his uncle meant. Hyun then explained it was the sword of 7 emotions, a technique literally built around a person's deepest feelings. The old man really studied that idea with interest. He realized the clan, long built on speed, was finally changing. They were entering a brand new era. When asked why he came, the elder said he needed him to visit the Murim Alliance. But before he could say more, a man interrupted, "Reporting that someone from the Ha-Fe Beggar Sect had just arrived, and that something totally awful had clearly gone down." The elder said they'd talk later. Well, Sun decided to go check things out. Left alone, he thought they were twins, and since he was bored, he figured he'd just take a stroll through the city. As he walked along, some shady people kept watching him. One guy whispered to their boss, asking what to do. The guy in beggar rags thought they wouldn't get another shot, so he told everyone to go tail the guy. His crew all agreed, planning to snatch him once he reached a quiet alleyway. The city streets were totally packed, and our hero was happy he could finally explore in peace. Things were tough before because people from vamping recognized him. He missed their smiles and gifts. The former fatty wondered how they were doing, knowing he had to act fast to keep the peace if he ever wanted to return to vamping prefecture. He had to move before the chaos could spread. Then he saw someone walk by who looked super familiar. He figured he'd probably just seen the man on the streets, so he let it go, But right then, he senses something shady and stays alert while finishing his dumpling. From far away, some guy is clearly watching his every move. Time ticks by and he keeps wandering the city. That same dude is still tailing him. Soon he passes an old beggar and realizes it's the guy from yesterday's fight. Man, this guy is annoying. Did he really think those plainclothes would hide him? He remembers hearing that something awful happened to that beggar. He figures these people are probably the ones behind it. So he calls out to a man pretending to read a book, casually asking what he is doing there. That sudden move totally rattles the people following him, and the man gets smashed right in the groin. In the confusion, our hero slips away. The others rush after him so he cannot escape. But when they reach the alley he entered, he is already gone. The long-haired guy wonders if he even came this way. Then our protagonist speaks from a rooftop, asking who they are and why so many men are chasing him. He figures they must really want something from him. The old man glares at him, clearly irritated. Our hero drops down from above. He coldly asks why they are swarming him like rats. Then he asks if they are the same people who chased him last night. One look at their faces tells him he is right. He wonders if they are leftovers from the Nine Dragons Fortress or after the Virgin Ginseng. The old man tells his men killing him is easy, but the boy is tied to a former government official, so this could turn messy if the government gets involved. He asks straight out if he is Jin Wei Gon, the one who took the Virgin Ginseng. Our protagonist plays dumb and asks who that is. That makes the narrow-eyed old man wonder if they have the wrong person. If he really ate the Virgin Ginseng, he should at least be at the energy condensation stage. But there is no internal energy. Still, our hero learned how to hide himself from that beggar, so he knows they will not figure him out. He realizes that if they came this far for the Virgin Ginseng, they are definitely connected to the servants of chaos, so he decides not to waste time. He will capture them and force out whatever they know. The narrow-eyed elder apologizes and calls a misunderstanding, but the protagonist stops them, saying they do not get to leave before telling him who they are. The old man drops the axe and orders his men to attack. The senior fighters charge in. Seeing them rush in without using deadly techniques, it just makes him want to beat them even more. With one hit each, he drops two. Two men go flying right into a wall. He tells the old man they must have thought he was weak to attack without using skills. The narrow-eyed man gets nervous. A guy with no visible energy just did that. He brushes them aside and asks if the old man is running. Angrier, our hero knows he is totally outnumbered, so he puts on an act and asks if they want to play. He grabs one of the men he already knocked down. He drops down and bolts out. That long-haired old man is right behind him. He lunges for a back attack, but our hero easily ducks out. He quickly scans the area, spotting the perfect spot for his plan. He flexes and hurls the captive man straight onto a rooftop, sending him crashing right through, making everyone inside panic and run. Then he leaps high into the air, readying a kick. One single blow tears the building apart. Those elite fighters move toward the wreckage. He says they arrived sooner than he expected. Touching his face, he wonders if the old man knew. Then he freezes. The man in front of him is someone he recognizes. Showing his new look, he says the fool followed him into the heart of Hefei. He asks if they want to keep playing, since they now face him and to clans protecting the city. Realizing it is a trap, the man curses him for being smarter than expected. He knows fighting to clans is impossible, so they need to exit Hefei fast. He orders the senior fighters to kill the protagonist immediately. The protagonist immediately realizes they just want to silence him. He lifts up his leg. His legs shatter stone, kicking chunks of rock into the air. Then he asks if they really thought he had no tricks left. He snatches up the flying stone. He thinks they should have run when they had the chance. Using the 12 consecutive cuts technique, he strikes them all at once. But at that moment, one man lunges at him from behind. Our hero praises him for tailing him this far. But a real martial artist does not get caught by something that's simple. While being choked, the man swallows a pill. The hero realizes something is wrong when the man suddenly dies right then. Then he finally understands the old man's real goal. He turns around to find him, but he is too late. The old man already killed the captured comrade. A loud disturbance breaks out. He sees the others killing their own allies as well. They are killing their subordinates so no evidence remains. The old man orders a retreat, and those three elders flee instantly. Our hero says if they want to play that way, He won't hold back. He tears after them immediately. The chase tears right through the city. One of them realizes he will not escape, so he stops and turns to face him. The protagonist slips past the sword strike with one more move. He kills the man in one hit, not caring whether these people live or die. The old man whispers a quick order and his subordinate nods. They split up at the very next corner. Our hero worries he might lose track of one of them. Suddenly, the old man looks up in total shock. Men ahead are yelling for them to stop right now. They are members of the two clans guarding the city. Took them long enough, he thinks, but now he can focus on chasing down the old man. He bolts harder down the street, tearing through streets, with our hero right behind. He knows getting caught now would ruin the entire plan. Desperate, he pulls out a strange little orb. He whips around and hurls it at our hero. But when he looks again, his target has vanished. The ball flies harmlessly into thin air. It explodes a split second later. Suddenly, our hero appears, shouts, and lands a heavy punch to his face. The blow sends him flying across the street, until he slams hard into a brick wall. Cracking his knuckles, our hero tells him to quit. His men are already in custody. Beaten, the old man demands to know who he is and why he hit him. But the winner gets to ask the questions. He asks where that narrow-eyed old man came from. Then he warns if he won't talk, they have all the time in the world to chat. Struggling back up, the old man thinks of all he's sacrificed for this plan, even his own life. Before he goes down, he will kill this kid first. Seeing that look, our hero knows it's the face of a desperate man's final move. The old man snaps, asking if this looks like a joke, while our hero looks around and notices no sect members are nearby. So he decides to finish this with one single blow. The old man doesn't get it, but he braces for impact. He decides to end him quickly to shut him up forever. He expects the protagonist to rush in and close the gap, and he plans to use that moment to take his head. But our hero remembers the perfect martial art to show the massive power gap. He settles into a calm stance, drawing power from the ground through his entire body. A heavy aura surges up from his feet. It flows up his body and concentrates deep in his fist. Then a massive strike slams the old man without our hero even taking a step. The old man takes the crushing hit in total confusion, while our hero watches him without a single shred of doubt. The elder is blasted back into the wall again, and the impact triggers a massive explosion. He asks if that was enough, then reveals Shaolin Supreme Art, the 30-meter Mystic Fist. He was told mastering it would let him unleash thousands of punches. Looking at the old man sprawled out, he realizes he cannot interrogate him in public like this. Luckily, a man shows up, introduces himself as the Beggar Sect leader, and asks to take the prisoner. He agrees and heads over to the unconscious guy with the Groot. The two beggars check his body. They tell their leader it is exactly like the description. The Beggar Sect elder asks if they can take custody of the man. Our hero is left confused, wondering what that sneaky thief is even talking about. Suddenly, someone comes running over, yelling for his uncle. It is the young master, and the first thing he asks is what happened to his clothes. Soaked and dirty, the boy, who turned loyal in just 10 days, gets furious and demands to know who did this. Our hero gives him a smack and tells him to pipe down. Stunned, the young master asks why he just got slapped. He raises his hand again, totally annoyed that the kid is trying to dodge him. The Beggar clan elder studies the guy on the dirt and realizes he was no pushover. His allies were at the manifested energy level, maybe even projected energy. Even so, that young man wiped them all out by himself. The old man apologizes for being so rude. Our hero notices that the Beggar Sect was already tracking this guy down. The elder explains that the Ghoul Sect was wiped out by people exactly like him. Then he asks how our hero is involved, and the young man realizes he is being interrogated. So he says those thieves were after someone else and just mistook him for their target. He remembers all the brutal training and beatings he had to endure. He has absolutely no intention of being played by this old man. Even then, the bearded elder still suspects he is hiding something big. Still, he thinks their arrival here might actually be helpful. If necessary, he can even trace this back to the Namgan clan. Right now, though, our hero is stuck because he just lacks the power. These enemies stay hidden and move around in secret. No one knows what they will do once they realize their team was wiped out. If that happens, the entire Yu clan could be completely destroyed. That means he has to distract them and draw their attention elsewhere. And these beggars are perfect for that since they love digging up secrets. Once they start moving, he will gain time. He just needs to point them the right way. Our hero pretends to recall the group name, and the bearded man gets excited, demanding he reveal it. But he refuses. He almost died in that fight and still does not fully trust the beggar leader. Then he gives his disciple a look, silently asking for some help. Faced with that scary expression, the young man wonders what he did wrong this time. He starts thinking hard, trying to apply everything he learned from StatCraft 10 math. He steps in, tells the beggar to stop, and says he is putting his uncle in a tough spot. That just annoys our hero, since the kid basically just wrecked his entire plan. Even so, the beggar apologizes and says this is about sect honor, so he wants the man. Before his disciple says anything else, our hero agrees there is really no better option, that any link to him must stay hidden, and if they learn anything, they must share it. The bearded man promises that they will share everything. Our hero says goodbye with a sly smile while the beggars watch him walk away. The long-haired man feels played since he did not even collect an information fee, but his boss snaps at him, mentioning the ruin of the heavens prophecy. It sounds like these guys are literally trying to destroy the gods. Basically, they might be plotting to flip the entire Murim world upside down. If he grills this guy and exposes the conspiracy, it could score him a spot as a high elder in the sect. So he orders his men to grab the prisoner and haul him back to headquarters. A few hours later, darkness falls. Our hero thought the servant would find clues about the second spirit beast, but the plan has totally shifted. Right now, they have to be extra cautious since they missed out on a rare Virgin Ginseng. He is certain they will race toward that second mystical creature now. That means he has to be quick and careful. Just as things get chaotic back at the sect, a massive shout echoes through the air. It is the old man, asking if Hyun really intends to visit the Orthodox Murim Alliance. He asks one more time if he is serious. The answer is a hard yes. Our hero needs more experience. The old man agrees immediately and tells him to make friends with Rai. Plus, he wants soon to go along for the trip. That news leaves the young master feeling completely blindsided, but the old man admits that is tough, since soon is the young patriarch. Our hero gets it right away. As the young patriarch, he has responsibilities and cannot just bail. So our protagonist says he will go get ready and pack up. While heading for the door, Hyun remembers hearing that there are 5 other phoenixes besides just Rai. Apparently, they are all insanely beautiful, so now he is actually excited to meet them. The old man is totally stunned once he realizes exactly where this is going. He keeps rambling, saying he might meet someone and get married. After all, spring is coming. The old man immediately shouts that they need to hold a clan meeting. He calls for one right away as Hyun leads, feeling smug that his little plan worked. Later, we shift to the Yangtze River, where a massive ship is waiting at the docks. A man orders his subordinates to give the vessel a careful inspection. Suddenly, a bald man walks up and pulls a thick envelope from his robes. He hands it over, calling it a small token of his sincerity. That is enough for the man to tell his crew to finish up and grab breakfast. The 3 men head out while the bald man stays behind, politely seeing them off. In his head, though, he mocks these corrupt officials for being so easy to bribe. After that, he makes his way down into the ship. He calls out, saying he told the crew to avoid the storage cabin so the guest could rest. The man in hiding says he will pay the remainder upon arrival and thanks him. The bald man heads back up, feeling relieved. He says they only need to make it past Blackwell Fortress now. Everything should be totally fine as long as they pay the toll fee. Then, he spots our protagonist and the young patriarch boarding the vessel. A few hours later, the sails go up and the ship finally sets off. Someone warns the protagonist not to mess with the pirates. It could cause massive losses. Even though our hero wants to fight, the young man explains the trouble would be worse than he thinks. If a fight breaks out, every pirate in the fortress might come swarming in. Worst of all, they have a monster-level fighter who rivals his grandfather's power. Meet the Sea Dragon King, U.S. agent. People call him the Ocean Monster. He slams his hand down. He warns that if our hero loses it and starts a war, the damage will be total chaos, so stay quiet. Our hero listens in silence, just staring holes through his student. Then he just clocks him one. The kid whines that punching everything is a bad look, while our hero keeps thinking about that Sea Dragon Emperor. For now, it looks like he actually has to keep a low profile. Hours later, The ship is cruising out in the open ocean. A scout at the front scans the horizon. He spots something weird and yells that a black whale fortress ship is coming. A ship flying black flags heads right for them. The entire crew turns ghost white. The two ships soon meet. A massive pirate jumps onto our hero's deck. The bald captain greets him, saying it has been a while. Vice leader Goldjack. Jack immediately orders his crew to bring out the toll money. The pirate gives him props for handling things without needing a lecture. Watching this, it looks like a pretty smooth deal. But it is weird that these pirates are still hanging around. The big guy says the cash covers one thing, but he's got orders to search for someone on this boat. Then he turns to the captain and asks if they are hiding anyone else on board. He obviously knows this guy occasionally sneaks criminals onto his vessel. If he just hands them over, they will leave the other passengers alone. The captain definitely loves money, but he likes staying alive more, so he admits someone is in the storage cabin. The pirate yells that they are looking for a fugitive and orders everyone to line up. The passengers are so scared they are just standing there, literally shaking. A pirate notices our hero just calmly staring out at the waves. That chill attitude really bugs him, so he gives the guy a hard smack on the head. He demands to know if he heard the order to get in line. The kid gives our hero a desperate look, begging him not to do anything crazy. But our hero is already staring down the pirate with pure, burning rage. Suddenly, a scream echoes out from the cargo hold. Everyone instantly whips their heads around. Even the pirate looks puzzled when he hears footsteps approaching. A man in fancy black robe steps out of the shadows on his own. The pirate demands to know why he touched his men, but the man says hiding from the Beggar Sect is tough enough. He didn't expect them to trust basic pirates to catch him. That sets the pirate off. He draws his sword to take the guy's head. He launches a lightning-fast strike. It only hits a pillar. Watching this, our hero admits the pirate isn't weak. Still, he cannot figure out why this guy keeps jumping around everywhere. Then everyone below notices the cracked pillar is starting to give way. Everyone is panicking at the thought of being crushed. Before they hit, someone slices them down. Sliced clean in half, our hero is just annoyed now that these people finally showed their true colors. Having saved everyone, he lands dramatically on the deck. Then he watches the messy scrap between the big pirate and the noble, with neither side landing a solid hit. A sleeve, a bright red snake tattoo. It instantly brings back his master's warning about a prisoner in the Murim Alliance with that same mark. That prisoner's name was Hyun Duque-san, and he knows exactly where that second legendary beast the hero needs can be found. Seeing things fall into place, he feels like fate is finally on his side. Before he can move, the young leader shouts at him to stay back. They had a deal, no interference. But the hero cuts him off, ordering his apprentice to protect everyone. Any injuries mean 2 days of angry training. Curing Matt, the young patriarch draws his blade. He has zero intention of suffering through that extra practice. He watches the pirate and the noble trade blows, sending out shockwaves strong enough to hurt the passengers. Those attack waves keep coming, and he knows he cannot block every single one. Still, he finds a way. He clears his mind, making his sword even faster. He fights back tears, knowing deep sorrow only sharpens his blade. With that wall of force rushing at him, he slowly swings his steel. The golden aura from his blade catches the shockwaves, parrying them away. With precise movements, he shields the entire crew from the heavy barrage. An old man thanks his savior, then wonders what the uncle will do next. That's when he realizes the protagonist has already vanished. As the duel continues, Captain Fat Jack pours all his power into one massive, sweeping power strike. The guy with the mustache dodges it easily. He sees the opening that Wild Swing left behind and moves in with a counter meant to end the fight. But before it lands, something drops between them at an incredible speed. The hero knocks the pirate's arm away and sends his sword flying. The grand entrance shocks everyone. He gathers energy into his fist and lands a brutal punch that folds the massive pirate. Fat Jack hits the deck, probably done for. Meanwhile, the well-dressed man demands to know who this guy is. Ignoring him, our hero asks if he is Quan Dioxium, catching the man totally off guard. That look says he guessed right. He tells him he is here to save him for questioning. Then he turns to the remaining pirates. He tells them he is busy with this guy, so they can either run or die here. The two pirates left standing just stare back at him, confused. The protagonist scowls, asking if they did not hear him clearly. But when he turns around, the man he just saved has already vanished. He bolts to the edge of the ship to track him down. Down in the sea, he sees the guy swimming away like a professional athlete. Watching him flee, our hero cannot believe the man is making this so hard. After being helped, before he can move, Fat Jack barks orders for his men to follow. One by one, the pirates splash into the sea like they are hitting a pool. Seeing that fat idiot's still trying to catch the man after he was told to stop, the protagonist calls for his subordinate and orders him to deal with Fat Jack. The pirate on the ground panics, not even sure who he is talking to. Then comes the threat, mess this up, and it is 1 full week of angry training. Training that makes the young patriarch scream he would rather die than let the big guy escape. His master looks pleased. Our hero dives right into the sea just like all the others. The moment he hits the water, he turns into Sharkbo and rips through the waves chasing that well-dressed guy. Fat Jack wonders why he is going this far for him, but the young patriarch closes in fast. He casually mentions his uncle must be great. Maybe he learned water arts while trying to lose weight. The pirate asks who he is, snapping the patriarch back to reality and reminding him he has a job. As he moves closer, the pirate asks if they have actually met before. Cracking his knuckles, the patriarch answers that the only thing that matters is this pirate needs to go down. Enough talk, he just follows orders and puts a hand on the fat man's head while the pirate shakes. A desperate scream rings out as the blow finally lands. Back in the water, we see the pirate still chasing that well-dressed man. Our hero has already caught up. The one pirate tries to block him from getting any closer. He swings, but our hero dodges the attack with ease. The pirate in the bandana suddenly loses sight of him and wonders where he disappeared to. By the time he looks up, it is already too late. The last thing he sees is the bottom of a shoe slamming right into his face. Using the pirate like a springboard, our hero says this is actually pretty fun as the guy sinks. Then he looks ahead and spots something he can really use. The pirates are lined up almost perfectly for him, so he starts stepping across them like a human bridge over the water. He thinks if Dharma crossed the Yellow River on a single leaf, then he can cross the Yangtze, running across pirate heads. Sometime later, Captain Fat Jack says they finally understand the situation. This is the main ship of the Black Whale Fort, which basically means they are dead men. He does not get to finish because our hero smashes a punch into his face. The pirate drops hard onto the wooden deck. Our hero tells his son they have run into a problem. The patriarch says he warned him already, but our hero tells him to just enjoy it. Then the two of them head for the approaching ship. A few hours later, the sun sets over a wrecked ship and pirates floating in the sea. A man with a scarred face watches the water from afar. He looks out and spots the boat our hero was on. On that side, the fat pirate moves forward. This makes the scarred man wonder what that idiot is doing and why he is coming here. Meanwhile, another pirate swims up, shouting out for the chief. The scar-faced man asks if he has any flares. The other pirate hesitates, saying it could be dangerous if the Black Whale Fort chief learns they took this job. Their leader tells him to quit whining and fire at the pride of Black Whale Fort has been crushed. A little scolding from the chief does not really matter right now. As the flare is raised, the pirate thinks that once it is fired, that person will come. The one everyone fears, the Water Dragon King, a monster both orthodox and unorthodox fighters avoid at all costs. Elsewhere, an old man sits at a desk, busy writing. Someone rushes in shouting that a red flare was fired near the Yangtze River. The old man jumps up. He is Jagal Shambam, the great strategist of the Murim Alliance. The report says the flare went up 2 hours ago, and many pirates are now demanding the river gates be opened immediately. He knows only pirates light red flares, so he's wondering who made them do it. He asks his subordinate if they have any clue why it was fired, but the messenger doesn't have an answer. The commander's livid. 2 hours have passed and they still don't know who's behind this. If someone's tough enough to take on the pirates, we need to recruit them. He orders the Celestial Alliance squadron to mobilize immediately and head to the Western Canal to deal with the protest. They can't let pirates seize the R1 Canal, the main route to the Murim Alliance. When he asks where the flare came from, he finds out it was near Anhui province. That shocks him since that's Black Whale Fortress territory. He immediately demands to know where the Water Dragon King is. The latest reports say he's somewhere in the middle of Jiggle Prefecture. Since he's so close to where the flare went up, he's probably noticed it already. Hearing that, the elder quickly asks where their highest-ranking member, the little beggar dragon taking the test, is now. Somewhere else, Late at night, someone's grumbling about being annoyed at this hour. He has already been briefed on the red flare situation, but he still wonders why he was woken up for that. This man is the Beggar Sect's little beggar dragon. He tries to wake up his sleeping buddy right away. The man just grunts and swats him away, making him complain that the hairy guy reeks of booze and needs to stop drinking. Annoyed that his buddy is still out cold, he starts shouting at him. The pretty boy finally opens his eyes, cursing and asking why he's being dragged out of bed in the middle of the night. The beggar dragon explains his uncle summoned him, and that the hairy guy is heading off somewhere else tomorrow. Even then, the drunk asks why that matters, which bugs the beggar dragon since they won't see each other for a while. But the other guy just tells him to get lost. Still drunk and dizzy, he drops his head and starts snoring, leaving the beggar dragon thinking he really picked his friends badly. But there's no time for that, so he unties the rope around his waist. He hands the rope to the messenger and tells him to find the beggars by the well and have them search the northern waters. After the messenger leaves, the hairy guy stays down for a bit, then mutters he feels okay enough to get up now, and the Water Dragon King is probably mixed up in this, so he actually does care, because he doesn't want that beggar knight getting himself hurt. Elsewhere on the river, a man dressed in white is being carried along on a small boat. Now we head back to the fight that the protagonist left behind. The crew stays huddled together on the cargo ship, looking totally nervous. Meanwhile, the young patriarch is finishing off the last few pirates still attacking. After taking down one more pirate, he looks ahead and wonders what his uncle is up to. He's still slamming heavy punches into a pirate's face. Then he knocks him flat without even budging. Right then, a sound makes him realize that the situation has completely spiraled out of control. No matter how many he takes out, even more pirates keep coming. He yells at Fat Jack to keep moving, they don't have any time to hang around here. The pirate trapped under him agrees immediately. He asks Whale if there's a place nearby to anchor and gets a hesitant yes. But then, someone suddenly flies right over the protagonist's boat. He senses something and looks up, only to see a man falling from the sky, leaving him thinking, what on earth is that? The man crashes onto the boat like a meteor and shouts for everyone to hear about the Yangtze River route. He introduces himself as Little Beggar Dragon of the Beggar Sect, warning that the new Murim Alliance will protect everyone, so they should back off. Watching the guy lecture everyone, our hero wonders who he is. Suddenly, a memory of his past and his master strikes him. He realizes the man in front of him is that same legend, just younger. Out of nowhere, a loud order demands every boat to stop. Our guy wonders if that drunk actually pulled it off. A man orders all Yangtze disciples to salute the chief commander. A massive roar of respect echoes from every single boat. Finally understanding who they mean, our protagonist quickly looks over. A white-haired man approaches on a small boat, carried by a giant servant, leaving our hero completely stunned. Even Little Beggar Dragon is shocked that man is the Water Dragon King. He realizes they are dangerously close. He tells Fat Jack to turn immediately. This is a massive figure in the unorthodox sect, and a crash would be fatal. The whole crew strains with everything they've got to turn the ship. Even then, the gap is so tight that a collision still looks inevitable. He sees they are about to slam right into each other, but the man stays calm and simply reaches out a hand. With one touch, he releases a blast that shoves the boat onto a new path. When both men land on the deck, he realizes the boat stopped from pure power. He wonders just how strong this guy actually is. The Water Dragon King introduces himself and his servant with a cold, sweeping stare. Little Beggar Dragon quickly bows to the legendary ruler of the river, and the young patriarch follows suit. He also pays his respects. Suddenly, the man beside the Water Dragon King makes a move. Our protagonist senses the danger right away. In an instant, the big man has someone by the collar, lifting them high. But that isn't what catches the Water Dragon King's eye. What matters is a kid under 20 noticed his subordinate moving at full speed. Only then do we see the one being choked and gasping for air. To stop things from getting worse, our hero speaks up. He asks why a legend is bullying kids, warning it might ruin his reputation. The elder gets the point and admits he can't have that. He calls his man back, and the subordinate drops the beggar like a rag doll. The elder releases his massive oar and asks if now is the time for an actual explanation. This leaves him frustrated. If they had just a bit more time, they'd have reached the alliance. He can't believe a monster like this showed up right now. If he enjay him, he might meet his end way sooner than planned. So he explains they were just traveling when pirates attacked and threatened the innocent people. The elder asks if he stepped in like a hero to save them, but the elder's aura keeps rising. Our hero can tell he doesn't buy the story, so he starts thinking fast. Then an idea hits him. He gives his clan name, knowing the elder won't recognize it from Murim circles. Instead, they're a family with major influence in the government. His father was an imperial advisor and still serves in Nanjing, watching the emperor's grandsons. He is talking big because his master taught him a trick to win an argument. Just flex your powerful connections, and if you don't actually have any, just lie through your teeth without blinking. But the elder couldn't care less about his background or who his father is. Right then, our hero realizes his master's mind games don't always work out. The Water Dragon King claims he was born a pirate and will die one. Indifferent to whether the government or some fool kills him, that response sets him on edge. He still has to keep Meng Song and his master safe. Plus, he still has that tied-up rich kid to handle. But how can he fight two monsters he can't even scratch, not to mention their bodyguard? Suddenly, another lesson from the Celestial Advisor clicks. Every negotiation follows two main rules. Either use what your enemy fears to rattle them, or offer them something they love to win them over. So, he asks the old man to listen closely and not jump the gun. Just trying to survive, he explains that revealing his name was never meant as a threat. All he wants is mercy and for the elder to ignore the dozens of ships he destroys. To sweeten the deal, he offers a payout, guessing no pirate would turn down cash. The elder's interest is piqued. Is this kid actually offering him money? Pushing his luck, the hero asks exactly how much it will take, but that only makes the old man grin. Then, he just bursts out laughing. Our hero thinks the old man's lost his mind, like he just hit the jackpot. After a moment, the elder steps in and admits he likes the kid's style. The hero immediately jumps back in total shock. The old man points toward the moon and the people watching them from the cliffs. Every single one of those swordsmen belongs to the orthodox Murim Alliance. He asks why nobody is making a move, leaving the protagonist confused since the answer seems obvious. The elder explains that whether they preach justice or chivalry, they only care about their own profit. So if the righteous sects are that greedy, why is our hero spending money to save everyone? He hesitates. There's no way this pirate would believe he's trying to stop chaos and save the whole world. While the old man reads his personality, he still can't tell just how strong the bow will get. Even so, he can't be reckless against a guy who has nothing left to lose. There's only one choice left. Test the kid himself. He calls the boy over. He tells him that some things in this world simply can't be settled with cash. Instantly, the bodyguard reaches for his weapon. This completely startles little Beggar Dragon. The hero rushes forward, screaming that the old man has finally lost his mind. But before he can even blink, the attack is already in motion. Realizing the strike is aimed at little Beggar Dragon, he jumps in to block it himself. The beggar freezes in fear as our protagonist shouts for him to get away. Little Beggar Dragon takes the chance and dives off the ship, leaving the hero all alone. But his power still isn't enough. Then, a massive blow slams into his chest. He manages to stay upright through sheer willpower. Thinking to himself, this has to end with one strike. His enemy is a martial arts master using internal energy. If this fight drags on, he's finished. So, he pours everything into one final attack using his purest energy possible. Spiritual energy is way more powerful than the internal energy kept in your core. But when the man sees it, he just gives a smirk. The protagonist is totally lost. Not until the old man lunges at him from behind. He slams into the dirt, struggling to keep his eyes open. But finally he passes out, caught between those two absolute monsters. Before fading out, he wonders how a legend from the unorthodox world could fight so dirty. He calls the old man a snake, but the elder just grins. Then the protagonist's vision goes dark. The young patriarch screams out for his uncle, but the Water Dragon King tells him not to do anything stupid. Son feels is heavy pressure just by locking eyes with him. Still, his uncle put his life on the line for them. He can't just stand there paralyzed by this pathetic fear. So he lifts his blade, knowing he has to save him. The old man is actually impressed seeing the kid push forward with such courage. He notices that enhanced sword energy glowing around his blade. It is weak and rough, but it is definitely enhanced energy. Now the old man wonders where these guys keep coming from. One actually fought back. One stood against him and the other broke free from his hold. Still, the boy is looking rough. That demonic nature has clearly clouded his judgment. The old man gives a little chuckle. He asks if he is one of Cheng Sun's descendants, but the young patriarch ignores him and just charges in full speed. Preparing to kick, the old man says he cannot kill him before he grows up. The kick isn't even named that the kid slams right into the deck. The impact is massive, sending waves crashing all around the ship. A little while later, deep in a forest. First, our hero catches a whiff of something delicious. Smelling food, he finally wakes from his deep sleep. He spots a bowl of meat while the sea dragon's bodyguard watches him eat. Confused, he hesitates until someone tells him to eat. Hyun Sen hunted and cooked it himself. Then it hits him. He is in the woods with the water dragon king, his guard, and that pirate. The old man says a growing kid should be eating meat and drinking wine. But our hero only cares about Sung and his master right now. Anger boils over as he demands to know what happened to the rest. Before he acts, the old man says he spared them and sent them to the Alliance. He adds the Namgum clan boy was barely hurt and will be fine when he wakes up. Even if he hates Chon-sun, he won't destroy young talent. Hearing that, our hero feels relieved his disciple is finally safe. Suddenly his hunger hits, and the old man reminds him he gave a warning. He picks up a piece of meat, wondering if it is actually poisoned. Then he gives in and admits it tastes amazing. Right then, he notices the old guy watching him eat with a stare. He is grinning like a fox, egging him on as if he is plotting something. Cut to a medical room where someone says, "This is the final needle." Tiny acupuncture needles are slowly being pressed into the man's skin. Once finished, the elder relaxes while the boy lies there looking like a pincushion. The elder mentions that the water dragon king was surprisingly nice. The young beggar is confused, but the old man says even for a representative, if he stayed that clueless, he would have suffered an energy deviation and ended up crippled. The doctor explains he didn't just stop the demonic energy, he cleared the boy's meridians too. Now the beggar wonders why he would do that. The old man leaves to send a letter, saying he has to handle the Sword King's temper now that the news is out. Left alone, the young beggar thinks back to the fight, to when the young patriarch charged the Dragon King without a flinch. Right as he planted his foot and channeled his QI, he shattered the ship's deck before the young patriarch could even reach him. For a split second, it looked like his eyes went back to normal. Then, in a freezing voice, the old man told everyone to get out. He meant the Murim Alliance guys, who could only stand by and watch. They watched as he and his crew carried our hero back on board the ship. The only person left was the beggar, still trying to help the young patriarch. Back in the present, he wonders what really went down and why Mr. Yu vanished. Deep in the forest, 3 pirates sit by the fire with our hero. The bodyguard offers him another piece of cooked meat. Seeing that kind face, our hero can't believe this guy fought like a literal tiger earlier. And he isn't the only one. The other guy looked like a beast before, but now he is just some drunk old man. Our hero wonders how one person can have such a different vibe. The old man offers the boy a drink of wine, then asks him how old he is. He takes a sip and tells him that he is 17. 17. The old man is shocked he is this strong before even turning 20. He asks who his master is, which makes our hero instantly suspicious. The old man keeps digging, really wanting to know his teacher, so he lies, saying his brother-in-law from the Dang clan taught him. The king says that is military territory, so he is very familiar with those martial arts styles. Their moves are simple and heavy, nothing like the kid's precise flow or that weird power he used. It definitely wasn't normal internal energy. Actually, it felt way more pure. Our hero is shocked he noticed what even the Sword King missed. He asks why the old man is so interested. The old man admits he is curious. He has never seen energy that strange before. If the kid only learned from family ... then he does not have a real master in Murim. That's perfect. But our hero cannot mention the saints. Then the Water Dragon King points at him. He wants him as his new disciple. The demand is a total shock. He says he was going to make him pay, that he will forget it for a student. His mind starts racing. He is supposed to be the hero who saves the world. Becoming a pirate's disciple makes zero sense. The old man thinks it's settled, but the kid asks for a minute. That just ticks off the Water Dragon King even more. He demands to know what that means. He explains his dad was a big deal scholar and imperial advisor. There is no way he can be some pirate student. He keeps rattling off excuses, while the old man just stares at him in total silence. Then the guy asks if a good old-fashioned beating would help him shut up and listen. That terrifying aura slams into him and scares him completely stiff. The old man says pirates need raw talent, basically telling the kid he was born for this life. Rattled, our hero sees no way out of this. The old man rolls up his sleeves and tells the kid he is overthinking things way too much. And those thoughts, they need to be beaten down. Soon, grunts and slaps echo all through the forest. Hours later, the fire is out. Our bruised hero is kneeling right in front of the old man. Asked if he has decided, he still stubbornly begs for a little more time. But as the beating is about to resume, he blurts out that he will be his student. In his head, it does not matter if that is what it takes. He will do it. He cannot waste time, so he asks for it to be temporary. He has to find Hyun and reach the Murim Alliance. He needs intel on the second creature, and Hyun is the only key he has. To pull that off, he has to reach the Murim Alliance as fast as humanly possible. Even with one eye swollen shut, he steels himself and keeps pushing forward. He tells his master that nobody can know he became a disciple. If they find out, he will be like a frog stuck in the Yangtze River. He wants to learn more and turn that river into a sea, then the whole world. Even the old man is impressed by that answer. Still, he warns that if the kid is lying, he will erase him and everything he cares about. He tells his subordinate to inform the pirates that Hyun is the new young master of the river. But to keep it a secret, with a cold stare, he warns them that if any news leaks, the punishment will be severe. Later, our hero takes off in a small boat, waving goodbye to the pirates while laughing with relief. Even while crying, he tells himself this humiliation was part of the plan. Now, those river pirates are basically his pawns. Once he snags the elixir and the mystical beast, he will finally escape that old man's reach. Meanwhile, the water dragon king sits on a rock, calmly drinking. He enjoys the peace and quiet for a moment, but it does not last. Someone suddenly shouts that the water demon is a total bastard. It is Chon-san, furious as he storms in. He heard the water dragon king left his son injured and passed out. The old man is confused. Then he realizes Chon-san is talking about the kid from the ship, that says he only learned that later. The old man adds that the pirate supposedly opened his son's meridians, which actually surprises the water dragon king. He quickly gets annoyed, wondering why Chon-san is raging instead of just thanking him. Chon-san demands he hand over the kid. He swears he will turn the river into blood if even one hair is harmed. The pirate thinks Chon-san must be the bow's master. The old man says they really could have that kind of bond. But this weird reaction just convinces the water dragon king that Chon-san is definitely not the bow's master. Since the bow is his disciple now, he wonders what to do if he cannot give him back. Those words enrage the patriarch. He starts gathering his power while cursing the pirate out. He charges in instantly and swings to cut him down, but only manages to slice his clothes. The water dragon king snaps, calling him a lazy swordsman. He jumps back onto a piece of wood in the river, saying that strike would have killed him. Then he shouts, asking if the old man was actually legit trying to kill him just now. The patriarch snaps back that he did not come to play. He is sending him home without his head. Hearing that insult, the pirate king gets truly furious. And he starts charging up his power, daring him to a duel to see who wins. Right as those two monsters are about to clash, the water dragon king's servant arrives, hauling a boar he caught. He stops for a second, curious about what he's actually seeing. Suddenly, the old man asks what the hell they're even doing. He tells him to quit it. Hyun left a while ago and should be at his destination by now. The pirate hops back onto the shore and swears he's telling the truth. The patriarch knows that even for a pirate, this man isn't much of a liar. He lowers his sword and thanks him for saving his kid, while the old man grumbles that he could have said that sooner. Then, the pirate calls one of his subordinates to come over. The man tosses him an old, dusty bottle of liquor. Catching it perfectly, he offers the patriarch a drink to smooth things over before he leaves. The old man accepts, figuring everything is fine as long as Hyun is safe. But Hyun is far from safe. Right now, two swords are pointed straight at his throat. Surrounded by a whole fleet and a crowd, he claims this is all just a big misunderstanding. They tell him only the Murim Alliance can settle a misunderstanding like that. Hyun doesn't really mind. He needed to go there anyway, so he just plays along for now. Before long, the massive river gates finally begin to swing open. He is escorted into the heart of the city by carriage. Hyun leans out the window to get a good look at his surroundings. The city is enormous, packed tight like a forest made entirely of stone buildings. He can't even hide the fact that he's seriously impressed. The man beside him remembers hearing this Bo took down mountain bandits solo and even fought pirates. But looking at him now, he just seems like an innocent teenage kid. Meanwhile, Hyun is dreaming of something much bigger. If he stops the chaos, he'll become a hero, claim the territory, and lead the Murim Alliance. It would be the perfect retirement plan. But first, he has to track down that well-dressed man. They soon reach the Alliance Palace and are told it's the military advisor's office. But when they finally reach the advisor's floor and open the door, the escort is completely shocked by what he sees waiting inside. He immediately drops to his knees, introducing himself as the vice captain of the Celestial Dragon Squadron, while paying respects to the leader. Standing right behind the advisor is a man dressed in pure white. He greets Hyun first, though the boy stays remarkably cool and collected in front of him. The bearded elder asks if he's Hyun. We learn this is Lee Hawkson, the White Marshal. Hyun can feel it. Even this man's gentle voice carries a crushing weight. It isn't actually killing intent. It's just the presence of someone so powerful they make people freeze in place. He remembers his master saying that if this man had been fighting on the front lines, they might have stopped the minions of chaos. After hearing the Bo's proper introduction, the old man realizes Hyun is only 17 and already terrifyingly skilled. Those sharp, blazing eyes remind him of a dragon, making him certain Hyun met the Water Dragon King. Facing these two, Hyun knows one is his master's teacher and the other is the alliance leader his master truly respects. He's basically been thrown right into a tiger's den. So, he takes a breath and steadies himself. The advisor asks if he was the one who caused all that trouble on the Yangtze. Hyun says his father is the imperial advisor, so he couldn't ignore people suffering at the hands of pirates. It sounds believable, like he acted for justice. But the old man still wonders about the man with him. When Hyun acts confused, the questioning continues. The advisor clarifies he's talking about the well-dressed man who was fighting a pirate before Hyun stepped in. Hyun knows they mean Hyun Ginseng. He's sure the guy was interrogated already, but he probably kept his mouth shut about the good stuff. He just needs a solid excuse for crashing the fight. Suddenly, one of them lunges forward, and the sect leader realizes the attack is aimed right at the woman. He reacts instantly and steps in between them. He grabs Hyun right then, while the other man demands to know what he thinks he is doing. Playing the philosopher, he simply tells them that was his answer. Hyun's body just moved on its own to protect her. The old man looks impressed, and Hyun can tell his little act is totally working. He asks about the man, but the advisor pushes back. Why care so much about a total stranger, especially after being so rough with him? Hyun suddenly slams his fist onto the table and shouts that he is angry, because innocent people were almost dragged into serious danger all because of that guy. Of course, it is all just theater, and they are probably about to buy it. The old man says the guy is being interrogated in prison, then asks if Hyun wants to go see him. Hyun smells a trap immediately. That offer came way too easily. They are likely trying to figure out why he saved the guy by watching his reaction during the interrogation. Still, smiling on the inside, he pretends to take the bait since he needs to find that millennial sea snail, so he says he would be glad to meet him, especially since the guy put others at risk just to save himself. The elder studies Hyun's answer, still not fully convinced by him. Still, he says he will notify the head guard, wondering how long the kid can keep this act up. As Hyun is about to leave, the man asks why the Water Dragon King let him go. Hyun says the pirate chose to pay for the damage, covering the sunk ships and medical costs for the wounded. The old man asks if he thinks they are idiots. By all logic, that pirate should have killed him. He mockingly tells them to ask the pirate themselves. He was released after promising to pay up. Simple as that. For a second, the elder looks totally annoyed by this brat, but they cannot hold him much longer. That doting father would definitely cause trouble, so the 10 stock ends and Hyun is released. The messenger then turns back to the leader and asks how much of Hyun's story they should actually believe. The answer, none of it, but the kid is interesting. Staring out the window, the leader says the kid's energy core is empty, making the advisor wonder if Hyun is hiding power. But the leader says no, he truly has nothing in there. He realized it when he blocked Hyun's attack, convincing him the Bo is using some new kind of secret cultivation. After all, the The Sword King and the Water Dragon King would not care about him without a good reason. He then says they should keep Hyun on their side, because this kid could help with their big plans. The advisor begins unrolling the red scroll he's holding in his hands. He explains he is trying to gather the hidden dragons from every region into one squad. But progress is slow. Those hidden dragons are destined to be the future leaders of their sects, or the heart of each faction's total strength, so they are not exactly easy to recruit. The old man mentions he saw Sung's body reach another level, all thanks to the Water Dragon King. Then he suggests introducing Hyun to the world, a young martial artist who raided the Black Whale Fortress alone and survived. He comes from a respected clan and he is handsome, too. Basically, the perfect young martial arts prodigy. They could even spread a rumor that Namdoon, who traveled with him, has also reached a high level. But the old man says it is only a suggestion, the rest is up to the advisor. After finishing with the elders, Hyun heads off somewhere else. Looking at someone there, he clicks his tongue and calls a whole thing pathetic. Then the little beggar shows up and asks if Hyun is joining the hidden dragon team. Hyun also spots Mr. Yu hanging around there. Seeing how much respect the man shows him, Hyun knows this is the perfect chance to make him a servant. The problem is, he cannot just start throwing punches at him or his other masters. The beggar mentions a list with Sedik and Miria on it. Hyun snatches the paper while the boy protests he should not be reading it. The hidden dragon team is supposed to be a total secret, but once Hyun checks the list, he sees every single one of his masters on it. There is Chun Su of the Tang clan, who trains by letting venomous snakes bite him. Wang Hill of Wudang can balance a full jar on his sword tip without spilling a drop. A group of Shaolin monks meditates under a crashing waterfall. And Jai Gilmore, the celestial strategist, says the sky looks frighteningly beautiful today. Seeing those names, Hyun starts wanting to gather every one of his masters and lead them himself. He admits he is getting hyped to see everyone, leaving the beggar wondering why he suddenly has the chills. Pretty soon, it is clear Hyun plans to join the Hidden Dragon Group too. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like and subscribe to this YouTube channel.